Talk to me,
Welcome to a brand new episode. Let us discover your true purpose.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Purpose Wednesday podcast, where purpose isn't just something you discover, it's something you live every single day. I'm your host, Latasha S, certified Christian life coach, certified professional life coach, board certified master Christian mental health coach, and a whole lot of other goodies, y'all. I've had an amazing day, and I pray that you've had an amazing day as well. I also pray that every day to come is even greater and more amazing than the one before. Here on Purpose Wednesday, we have honest, faith-filled conversations that help you heal, grow, and walk boldly in the purpose God has placed on your life. And our 2026 theme is confirmed, not delayed. Walking in obedience, not excuses. Today's conversation is called Consistency is the New Breakthrough. Our primary text is Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8, the persistent widow. Now let's get into it. What if the breakthrough you keep asking God for is hiding inside the thing you keep starting and stopping? Because we love breakthrough, right? We love sun. We love the open door. We love the big testimony. We love when the numbers jump, the opportunities come, the answers show up. And we can finally say, look what God did. But sometimes the breakthrough is not sudden. Sometimes the breakthrough is that you kept going when you could not see anything changing. You prayed again. You showed up again. You obeyed again. You worked again. You got frustrated and still came back. Because sometimes consistency is the breakthrough. Luke chapter 18, verse 1 tells us exactly why Jesus gave this parable, the parable of the persistent widow. It says, and he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. That word faint means to lose heart, to get discouraged enough that you stop. And Jesus tells us about a widow who needed justice from a judge who did not fear God and did not regard people. She went to him and asked him to deal with her adversary. At first he would not, but she kept coming. She kept coming and kept coming. Now let's clear one thing. Let's clear one thing up. The judge is not God. Jesus is not saying God is cold, uncaring, irritated, or hard to convince. The point is the opposite. If an unjust judge will eventually respond, how much more can we trust a just God? Jesus in this text is using a lesser to greater comparison. The widow's persistence was not about wearing God down. It was about refusing to lose heart. And I think that is where many of us struggle. We hear one no. We see no movement, we don't see the result, and we stop. I know I can do this when I'm creating something. If I'm working with an app, building something, trying to make something work, and it's not doing what I wanted to do, frustration can come quickly. And frustration will make you want to stop. But something not working immediately does not automatically mean you are supposed to quit. Sometimes you are still learning. Sometimes you are still building. Sometimes repetition is developing the skill you are going to need later on in life. And sometimes God really is telling you to stop. And that's why consistency cannot just mean I'm going to keep doing whatever I want forever. That is stubbornness. Biblical consistency is submitted to God. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So the question is not just, what do I know to do? The question is, God, what are you telling me to do now? If he says keep going, keep going. If he says stop, stop. If he says that he's directing you, turn around and go into the direction that he's telling you to go. But do not let frustration make a decision that requires discernment. And we also need to understand that temptation often meets us at the point of vulnerability. In Matthew chapter 4, Jesus had fasted and was hungry when Satan tempted him. The hunger itself was not sin. The weakness of the moment became the pressure point. And that still happens. If you are tired, the enemy can use your tiredness. If you are frustrated, he can use frustration. If you are impatient, he can use your impatience. If you are disappointed because you cannot see results, he'll use that too. The question is, though, will the pressure determine your obedience? Because when God told you to do something, the absence of immediate results is not enough reason to abandon what he told you to do. Think about driving to a destination that is hours away, right? You know where you're going. You cannot see the destination yet. Are you going to pull over on the side of the road and say, well, I don't see it, so I guess it's not there? No, you're going to keep driving. If you make a wrong turn, you can use the GPS. You correct the route. You get back on the road. You do not turn around and go home just because the trip is taking longer than you expected. That is what some of us are doing in our purpose. We are confusing distance with denial. Honey, do not pull over just because you cannot see the destination yet. If God gave you the direction, keep on moving. Sometimes the results are not what you can see yet, but something is still being produced. Character, discipline, wisdom, skill, trust, endurance, honey. And sometimes God is doing something through your obedience that you would never fully see. Now, how about that? Hebrews teaches us that maturity comes through use. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 14 speaks about those who, by reason of use, have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. That is training language. Maturity is not just about age. It is not about how long you have been saved. It is not about how many books you have read. Maturity is practice. You practice discernment. You practice obedience. You practice prayer. You practice patience. You practice getting back up. The more you keep showing up, the stronger those spiritual muscles become. That is why you may not need another resolution. You may need rhythm. Resolutions are exciting. Rhythms are repeatable, though. And repeatable is what builds you up, right? Now, let's talk about the part nobody likes. Sometimes you are consistent and nobody applauds. The numbers are not big. The views are not high. The audience is not what you imagined. And you start asking, what is the point? The point is obedience. There's not always going to be an award for continuing. You are not doing it for the reward anyway. If 55 people see what you did, that's 55 people. Do not insult the 55 because you wanted 2,000. One person still matters. One person can hear something God wanted them to hear. One person can make a different decision because you showed up. Faithfulness means being faithful where you are. Preparing where you are, serving where you are, growing where you are, and getting ready for what is next without despising what God has placed in your hands now. Everybody wants what is next, but are you ready for what is next? Are you faithful with what you have now? Because preparation is part of consistency. And I want to speak to the person who says, I've prayed, I've shown up, I've obeyed. I've done everything I know to do, and nothing has changed. I understand being tired, but listen to what you just said. I've done everything I know to do. Maybe that is a problem. It was never only about what you know to do. That is why we acknowledge God. That is why we trust God. That is why we do not lean on our own understanding. Maybe God is saying keep going, because when you keep praying, prayer is strengthening you. When you keep showing up, you keep learning. When you keep obeying, trust is being built. When you keep standing, endurance is being formed. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9 says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. That does not mean every personal plan is guaranteed to turn out the way we imagined, but it does mean we do not abandon doing what is right simply because the harvest is not visible yet. When you have done what you can do, stand. But you are not standing in your strength alone. You stand in God's strength. Now, consistency does not mean running yourself into the ground. Consistency can rest. Compulsion feels guilty when it rests. Consistency follows God. Compulsion tries to control the outcome. Consistency says, I will keep doing what God told me to do. Compulsion says, if I stop for 1 second, everything will fall apart. No. You can rest and return. You can change the method and remain faithful to the assignment. You can receive new direction without calling yourself a failure. The goal is not stubbornness. The goal is faithfulness. Your calling is deeper than one assignment. Your identity is deeper than one job, one platform, one role, one title, or one project. So stay consistent with God, not merely with your own plan. Before we close, let's walk through the purpose pathway. Heal. Release the past and restore your heart. Release the shame of stopping before. Release the disappointment that made you afraid to try again. Release the all or nothing thinking that says, if I cannot do it perfectly, I might as well not do it. Ask yourself, what disappointment made me stop returning? Grow. Renew your mind and strengthen your faith. Build a sustainable rhythm, not 10 new goals, one faithful rhythm. Pray consistency, study consistently, practice consistently, rest consistently. Let repetition train you. Ask yourself, what do I need to keep practicing until it becomes part of who I am? Walk, move boldly, and live on purpose. Do the next thing, not everything. The next thing. Pray again, write again, create again, apply again, practice again, rest and return again. And before you quit, ask, God, are you redirecting me or am I reacting to frustration? Remember this. Do not confuse distance with denial. Do not call it failure because you cannot see the fruit yet. Do not let one no become your final answer when God told you to keep moving. Do not let tiredness, frustration, impatience, or disappointment decide whether you obey. And please stay out of, I've done everything I know to do. Because this was never supposed to be built on what you know. Trust God. Acknowledge Him. Let Him direct the path. And when He says keep going, keep praying, keep showing up, keep obeying, keep moving. Because breakthrough may get your attention. But consistency changes your life. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Purpose Wednesday podcast. Keep healing, keep growing, keep walking. Because purpose isn't just something you discover. It's what? It's something you live every single day. Good night, everybody.